This evening is the sacred evening, the sacred day of Buddha Purnima, the full moon dedicated to Lord Buddha, the day worshipped as the day in which Lord Buddha took birth here on earth, Buddha Jayanti, but celebrated, of course, with the Purnima, the full moon, because the message of the life of the Buddha, the message for us, the message of his teachings is that the light, the enlightenment is within us. He went out into the forest, sat under the tree, did his meditation until he attained that state of enlightenment. But then, after his state of enlightenment, he didn't stay there under the tree. He didn't go further into the denser forest. Rather, he came back to the villages, back to the towns, back to the people, to share that message, to share that teaching, to share that light, to bring light to all, and to awaken in people, not only then, but now, thousands of years later, how many people's lives have been touched and illumined by that light of the Buddha. And that was his teaching, is that light is within you, within each of you. And that every single one of us, regardless of color or caste or creed or country or culture, every one of us has within us that light. Every one of us has within us the Buddha. And that is the teaching for all of us at this time, is it's not just how can we worship Lord Buddha, but rather how can we take the message of his life, that teaching, for our lives, so that each of us awakens within us that Buddha. That's what he taught, that the Buddha nature is available to every one of us, in every one of us. So on this day of the full moon, the day of light, let us use that light to look within. Use that light to find the Buddha nature within us. And what is that Buddha nature? Well, it's the nature of compassion, the nature of love. The Buddha said so beautifully, not to worry about running out and extinguishing all of the fires in the world. Fires of people's hatred, fires of violence, fires of all that. But rather that we should become a river of compassion, a river of love, such that whenever anyone, anything comes into our presence, it's automatically extinguished. So many of us spend our time worried about what to do about this one or that one, how to fix this one, fix that one, change this one, change that one. And the Buddha gave the message. Just become that river of love, river of compassion. And then this one, that one, whoever it is, whatever it is, whatever fire there may be, when it comes near, it will automatically get extinguished in the waters of your love and compassion. Lastly, I want to share a beautiful teaching of the Buddha that actually came after he had left his body, but you could call it even maybe the core teaching of the Buddha's life, which was the teaching of service, the teaching of giving, the teaching of helping others. And this story, after the Buddha had left his body, his disciples came together to put together a book on the teachings of the Buddha, because they knew that so many people would benefit for generations and generations to come. So they got together the teachings, then they got together the money. They had to raise all of the money to publish this book. And after they had, with great hardship, raised the money to publish the book of the teachings of the Buddha, an earthquake struck. And in the earthquake, so many people lost their lives, lost their homes, lost everything. And so the disciples of the Buddha took all the money that they had raised to publish this book, and they used it to help the victims of the earthquake. And then again they went out and they started to raise the money again. And again, with great hardship, they got the money together. And then there was a flood. And in the flood, so many people lost their lives, lost their possessions, lost their homes, lost everything. And again, the disciples of the Buddha took all the money they had raised and they used it to help the victims of this flood. And then again, for the third time, they, with even greater hardship, because of course people don't want to give you money 3 times in a row, even greater hardship, they got together all the money and they finally published this book, the teachings of the Buddha. But when it was published as the teachings of the Buddha, 3rd edition. Because what they knew was the 1st edition of helping the earthquake victims, the 2nd edition of helping the flood victims, those were the teachings of the Buddha. And the book itself was only the 3rd edition. So on this day, we use the light of the full moon to go within, to find and then become that Buddha nature. And then we use it to go out and to serve and to help all of those in the towns and the villages and the cities, remembering that that is the Buddha nature in action and in movement.